The title of my project, my presentation is Nickel Project Divestment. So for all those companies that believe they would love to try and emulate the success of Mark and his team, or Dan and his team, or David and the Mincor team, then we have a number of three very interesting projects that you should consider, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. The usual disclaimer, of course. The opportunity that I'm presenting to everyone who's listening in this room, and also people that will follow the conference overseas, is to companies who wish to enter the West Australian nickel sulphide industry. So we've got a range of players, I guess you could say, here on the booth today. But what we're saying is we have three very well located nickel sulphide projects. We have exposure to one of Australia's highest grade, lowest cost nickel mining belts, which is Western Area's Forrestania belt. We have exposure to a new sequence of recently identified komatiites at Lake Johnson, just south of some ground very well known to Mark and the Lionor team. And we have very large, continuous tenure, excellent databases, and many drill-ready targets. But who's Hannans? And just to put it into context, we've been around for a little while and we absolutely love nickel. We all know nickel sulphide exploration is extremely difficult, but the rewards can be there. And as a result of that, over the last 10 years, we've spent approximately $11 million exploring for nickel sulphides in Western Australia, using a quality team of people, which I'll talk about. But what we did earlier this year is try and move up the curve a little bit by acquiring a development asset, and that's a very large iron project in Sweden. And we acquired that asset via the takeover of ASX-listed Scandinavian Resources. So a little bit of a quick history for us. Excellent. So for 10 years, we listed in December 2003. Our geoscientists are in Australia, Sweden and Norway. Our history shows that we've put together fantastic projects in proven nickel sulphide belts. Something else we did was we built another major tenure package up in the East Pilbara, discovered high-grade iron and started the consolidation of the East Pilbara iron sector by folding in with Warwick Resources, which was ultimately acquired by Atlas Iron, which Atlas ultimately acquired Ferros. We've built a major position in Europe's #1 iron district in Sweden. Sweden is the largest producer of iron ore in the whole of Europe, and we're 6 kilometres from the largest iron ore mine that's been going for 100 years. We've also identified high-grade copper and gold mineralisation in Sweden and Norway, and we've done deals with Vale, Rio Tinto and Jim Coppard at Anglo American, one of the key people behind Sakatti as well. So our process, we are very disciplined in terms of our process. It's easy to say, it actually you need to have the right team and it costs a lot of money to actually do it. I've pretty much mentioned all those things, but the three data sets, you just keep reviewing them time after time: geophysics, geology and geochemistry. And there's no substitute. It takes time and you need the right people looking at the data. And we very much follow that process. So our job at Hannans is actually to build a suite of projects that we can retain exposed to, whether they be nickel, iron, copper, gold, whether they be Australia, Sweden or Norway. So why are we divesting and what's the plan? Basically, we want to make sure that the last 10 years of work, hard work and $11 million of exploration go to a party that can add value to that work and work towards making an economic discovery. So we don't want to leave, we wish to stay exposed to the projects. Then once we have successfully completed the deal, we'll look to move our main focus to the Kiruna Iron Project in Sweden. So it's not about leaving nickel. We love nickel and we love Western Australia. We also know how hard it is, and we'd like to share those risks and the future returns with other parties, whether they want to come in from Canada, South America or Europe or Western Australia or West Perth. Won't go into a great deal of detail, but the board has recently been increased with the addition of the fund manager Marcus Bachmann from South Africa. He's a Swiss chap, and Olaf Forsland, who was the head of the Geological Survey of Sweden. Okay, so those chaps came in with the acquisition of Scandinavian Resources. But our technical team, both in Australia and Scandinavia, is pretty extensive. Amanda Scott was the Hannans exploration manager that made the discovery up in the Jigalong project in East Pilbara. She's now based in Sweden. Christina Lundmark was previously the head of the Geological Survey of Sweden. Runa's based in Norway, and obviously you can see a combination of geologists and geophysicists. In Australia, we rely very heavily on our core team, geologists in terms of Tom Lyons and Helen Sanders, geophysicist Ben Jones would be well known, and obviously Dr. Nigel Brand. So geology, geophysics and geochemistry, time after time. So where are the projects and what's the chance of making a nickel sulphide discovery? There are three major projects: Forestania, going from west to east, Lake Johnson and Queen Victoria Rocks. All major positions put together over 10 years. Whether they're historical data sets or our own data sets, they're high quality, and we have a number of drill-ready targets to be tested. So the transaction that we're looking at with different partners can either be on one project or a package of three. So as I said, if you're outside West Perth or Western Australia and you want to enter the Yilgarn and you want to be trying to emulate the success of the nickel producers and explorers, this is a package you could do well to get your hands on. So what is the Forestania project? It's 1,800 square kilometres of ground. Obviously it's a fantastic belt made famous by Udukumpu, Western Areas and Uexco. Hannans over the last 7 years has consolidated what has been a very fragmented tenure, which has enabled systematic exploration primarily over the northern extension of the ultramafic that hosts the high-grade nickel mines to the south. As a result of the consolidation in the belt, there's only two players left. That's the high-quality company Western Areas and ourselves. And clearly the success with new exploration at Sunrise and Spotted Quoll shows there is more nickel to be found at this fantastic location. We'd like to think that either in the Stormbreaker prospect at Lucy Rocks or potentially even at Skeleton Rocks, we have some of those discoveries in the future on our ground. You can see basically the plan there is Lounge Lizard, Flying Fox, Beautiful Sunday. You can see the red tenure is Hannans, and then further north is Skeleton Rocks. Where you can see Beautiful Sunday, we took that tenement package as it folds back down to the south with a conceptual view that the stratigraphy may fold around and head back down south. So cover the northern extension and cover the potential fold and trend to the south. Where we've spent a lot of time and effort is more recently at Skeleton Rocks, and this is a large package of greenfields ground, but again, doing that historical work you find some very interesting surprises. Originally, we picked up this trend because of the Edna May, the nickel sulphide mineralisation at Edna May, and we're trying to decide whether or not there was a continuous trend potentially from the ultramafics at Forestania trending up to the northwest. What we found when we digitised all the historic data is there's a whole number of occurrences of azurite, malachite, nickel and copper, and then obviously we did our own work and we have nickel and copper soil anomalies. Ben Jones did ground geophysics over that anomaly, which sits on a magnetic feature, and now we have a coincident soil anomaly about 1.2 k's long, coincident EM, and a number of test targets that remain to be tested. It's a very large area. It's a bit, Mark was talking about having to walk 8 k's in very wooded ground. It's not dissimilar here. It's very hard to access, and generally when it's hard to access, people tend to find it a bit too hard. So we're not of that ilk, and we believe this is a fantastic opportunity to find some more nickel sulphide mineralisation at Forestania. Lake Johnson, again, is a project that we started with in 2003. So we picked up some tenements from well-known Kalgoorlie prospector Scott Williams, who's gone on to do great things with Dore, and it's obviously been very well explored by Lyonor and now Norilsk. Most of that exploration over the last 40 years has been on that main ultramafic unit. But just recently in 2012, Tom Lyons, using the assistance of our previous exploration manager Don Huntley, Ben Jones and Nigel Brand, identified a whole new sequence of komatiites out to the east. in a completely underexplored geological setting for nickel. So you can see it there on the slide. It's what we call the Mount Gordon prospect. So it's off the main trend. It's a result of the systematic process that we've employed, and it is a very exciting early stage opportunity. When you zoom in, again, we look at this is copper soils. You can see that this drill program that we completed was only one hole, but it was on the end of 65 holes for gold. So we just finished a 65-hole RC program for gold. We had 2 nickel targets down in the south east. Unfortunately, due to logistics and other matters, we could only drill 1. But we had done all the work. We'd done the geochemistry. We completed the geophysics. Ben Jones thought that it all lined up pretty well, although surface EM is pretty much ineffective out here. So we drilled to test the soil anomaly. To our surprise, we had komatiitic lithologies, got the right nickel sulfides. The hole ended in ultramafic. The basal contact has not been tested, and there's interpreted to be at least 2 thick komatiitic flows within the hole, right out in the middle of nowhere that no one thought existed. As to what the model is, we haven't done enough work, of course. There is the Medcar intrusive just to the south, or whether it's actually more sort of traditional type 1 or type 2, yet to be determined. So what we need to do here is a lot more drilling and essentially downhole geophysics. It's open, and for someone who wants to enter the Lake Johnson nickel sulfide belt, this is a super spot to be trying. Queen Victoria Rocks is something that's been around for a very long time, but in actual fact is our most mature nickel sulfide opportunity. According to our previous exploration manager, it remains a standout nickel sulfide occurrence. Don Huntley, who did a lot of the work up until his moving on from the company in January, really put an enormous amount of effort into trying to understand what's been happening at Spargos all this time. Surface EM essentially has proven to be ineffective. We've encouraged others to come in, and Vale Exploration and Tony Rivera's Nickel Australia have also had a look, but the opportunity still remains, and I'll show you why. Basically, the Spargos prospect is very complex. It's the most mature for Hannans because actually we've identified the lava channel that is maybe the location or source for the nickel sulfides. So we've got disseminated sulfides on the flanks. We've got nickel sulfides internal to the ultramafic, and we've got disseminated sulfides on the contact. So there's a number of deep holes that need to be drilled to further test the contact and also the flanks to actually see whether or not, in a traditional model, there's any economic mineralisation at Spargos. So you can actually see that between all the 3, whether Forestania, everyone loves Forestania because it's been such a fantastic project for Western areas. Lake Johnson, Norelska mining, nickel at Lake Johnson, and lots of nickel explorations being conducted. And Queen Victoria Rocks, more mature, not in the same type of belt, but certainly lots of potential. All 3 projects are in Hannans, and all are available to be tested by keen parties with the funds and with the expertise to make the projects work. In terms of the divestment process, we basically started it today. People are welcome to contact the company, either myself or Ben Delavedova, our business manager. We'll have a data available after signing CAs, and we'll bring this to the attention of people in the eastern states and also overseas. I just want to finish on the one last slide on the Kirina Iron Project, just to show why we are moving away from nickel in Western Australia, but retaining an interest. This is a project that we started working on in 2008. The Kirina town there, you can see, is a town of 15,000 people. It's been producing iron ore for 100 continuous years. Hannans is now the largest tenure holder in the whole of the Kirina district. It's put together a global resource of 500 million tonnes. It's magnetite, it's all open pittable. That's the style of mineralisation. There's also lots of copper and gold in the system. We acquired one of the projects from Anglo American and Rio Tinto. SRK just in earlier this year gave that project a valuation of $140 million US. We've just appointed a managing director who was Bull-Eden's managing director of the largest lead mine or zinc mine in the whole of Europe, the Tara mine in Ireland. So we now have a mining engineer who can drive this project, and principally this is the future development asset for Hannans shareholders, but with retaining exposure to what we believe is an absolutely super nickel sulphide portfolio, Lake Johnson, Queen Victoria Rocks,